We are going to start here by introducing our two panelists. Also, just as a note, everyone is on mute and without cameras, but if you have any questions, then please use the Q&A button at the bottom. You can ask questions at any time and we will answer them at the end of the webinar, or feel free to use the chat icon and we will also answer those submitted questions at the end of the webinar. So let's get started. Our presenters today will be Greg Ness, who is part of our marketing department with me here at NetBeez, and also Stephen Kruger, who is our customer success engineer, and will be giving a quick demo of our new remote agent. So I will let them take it from here.
Hey, thank you, Jess. And Steve, why don't you say hi as we click to the agenda slide?
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. I hope your Thursday is shaping up to be a pretty good one.
So we're going to make the intro and the first few slides pretty quick so that we can dive in and get to the live demo of the work from home agent. We'll talk about introduction NetBeez, the challenges you're probably all aware of, key capabilities, and the business benefits impact. We'll make a really quick, maybe a minute each slide, and then we'll cut to the live demo. So what do? Well, you know, we're proactive monitoring, end user experience, call it high performance network monitoring that includes multiple use cases, including network performance, troubleshooting, and as I said before. Steve, you want to take us through the agent and what types of agents?
Yeah, sure. So when we reference an agent, we're talking about either some sort of appliance or software that we use to collect this data and give it back to the user. Particularly, we have hardware agents, wired and wireless specifically. We integrate directly with Cisco Catalyst 9300 switches, Extreme and Juniper switches as well. We also have the ability to host within the cloud, directly install on Linux operating system, within Docker containers, and a couple different cloud agents such as Azure, AWS, and the Google platform. But today, what we're going to talk about is the agent that's currently running on Windows, the work from home agent. And I'll turn it back over to you, Greg.
Thank you. So if you've registered and you're bothering to attend or watch this webinar on demand later, you're probably aware of these challenges, but for the sake of focus, clarity, presentation, let's go through them quickly. Clearly, with most network monitoring solutions, there's a lack of user experience visibility. You know, you're pinging routers, switches, et cetera, to find out about their availability. And this lack of user experience, which NetBeez was actually designed to address from day one, really limits your ability to conduct root cause analysis. On top of that, if you're only getting sample data in terms of the status of those devices or any status, even user experience, intermittent issues can be, as you know, very hard to track. That translates into some business impacts, right? So lost productivity, not just your end users, but your highly skilled professional network engineers end up spending a lot of time trying to work things out and detect things. And in most cases, there's just assumptions about where the problem is. So the ISP is blamed, but really, who has a clue, right? That's the question. Just this past week, as we were planning for this webinar, our ISP went down. We had no idea. I was on a call this morning where someone said, well, our ISP just went down, so if we drop off, that's a problem. And at the end of the day, because it's guesswork, really makes us unable to meet SLAs, right? That's the bottom line. And because we just don't know where the problems are. So the work from home agent was really built with some really unique capabilities from the get-go that positions NetBeez to really address this issue. Number one, their relentless focus from the beginning on user experience, on real-time statistics. So, you know, a few seconds of delays at the maximum versus maybe hearing about something minutes or hours later. So when you have that visibility of the user experience and you can get statistics in real time and visibility into the home network with continuous raw data collection, you're in a great position to be proactive. And you know, I've heard from NetBeez customers where they've spotted issues in carrier networks several hops away because of their ability to triangulate. The last benefit is really interesting as well. the ability to easily install at home without specialized skills on software, hardware, etc. So what does this convert to into the bottom line business impacts? Faster root cause analysis, even as I mentioned on carrier networks, being able to detect their issues, the ability to identify performance SLAs, to be able to make, and you'll see this in the demo that Stephen will tee up, quick comparisons between lots of endpoints all simultaneously. And then this whole higher user engineer productivity, right? You're focusing on the problems, the issues, identify them quickly, sometimes before users even notice. And your users are more productive, right? Because they're filling out fewer complaint tickets. And when they do file something, you have a lot better visibility in what they're dealing with.
So one of the key things with this agent is being able to deploy in a couple different situations. So if you have a centralized management system where all your laptops and desktops are managed, you want to be able to roll it out through that. So we design an MSI installer. The other part of it is say you only have, or in some cases, a lot of people are using their own equipment using a VPN, and they need to be able to install this themselves. So very simple. All you have to do is download the agent, give them the secret key. And what that is that identifies you to your specific dashboard. So you'll plug in the secret key and hit next. In some cases, depending on which version of Windows 10 you're running, there might be some features that need to be enabled, and the installer will do that. It may prompt you to reboot, and it'll come back on, continue the installation, and then at the very end, you'll click finish, and the agent will be live on the desktop. And I'm actually going to show you what that looks like here. So at the bottom corner here, we have a little tray icon. So you can actually see it's running right here. And if we were to bring up Task Manager, we can actually see that the NetBeez is running in the background, running ping. As you see, it's a very, very lightweight piece of software. But taking a look at the dashboard here, we have the Buzz tab, and this kind of gives you a real quick snapshot on the current performance, if there's any ongoing alerts or incidents or things of that nature. Going over to the agent section here, we have a couple different views. I'm going to bring up this view. I kind of like it the most. We talked about the Gig E, so those are your wired agents. So that's actually these four with the little plug symbol there. We have the wireless agent here. We have one host within our cloud application. We have a couple different Docker containers, including my personal Unraid server, which is actually over there right now. And then we now have my laptop as well, which is signified by this. So that is what the remote workers agent. Also, we have one in our data center as well. So I'm going to click on my agent, and you'll see all the normal things you would on a regular agent that you would have deployed in your network infrastructure. So you'll see, the public IPv4. In some cases, mine's behind a firewall, the IPv6. You'll be able to see, all of your things like uptime and things like that. And here is where your tests are. And we're actually going to come back to this in a little bit here, but you can get some really quick information. When we talk about tests, we're actually referencing the targets. And a target for us is either going to be an internal resource, such as you see we have down here, the internal host VPN. So we want to be able to target that to make sure that the VPN is reachable, or an external source, such as a web application, a website, anything that's reachable external. So as long as this particular, in this case, my laptop can reach the target, whether it's back in our home office or Google, whatever have you, that's what a target is. So it can be an IP address, or it can also be a website as well. Then we're going to go over to the tests tab here. So we have two different tests that we're running on my particular agent. So we're doing an iPerf TCP, so just raw throughput, and then a UDP. So we're getting, some throughput, we're getting packet loss and jitter. And in this case, these are some really, really solid results. Which is really important when you look at things like VoIP and things like that. And then I also run a network speed test. So you can see, even though I'm wireless, I'm getting a little under 400 or 350 megabytes per second download, but Comcast does not like fast upload speed. So I'm capped around 40 in that sense. And then let me show you something here. I think this is pretty cool. So let's go here. Let's bring up the agent, and I'm going to stop it right from here. Now it will take, you see here, it pops up, says agent has stopped. It'll take about 30 seconds for the agent to go offline. And the reason why that is the ping tests are set up once every 5 seconds. And for an agent to be unreachable, you need to have 5 failures in a row. So we'll give it about 25 to 30 seconds. And what you'll see is that the agent is you'll see all these start to go question mark out. And then this will actually go offline here in the background. There we go. Perfect. So now the agent is going to turn completely unreachable here. You see the light had turned off. And I guess if I click away and come back, yep. So now this agent is unreachable. I'm actually going to bring it back online here. So you'll have the ability to do that. While that's come online, I also want to show you, we have a particular test. If I can find, there it is, my VPN. So once this comes back online, I'm going to disconnect from the VPN, and you'll see that the VPN test itself will actually start to fail. And then I'll go ahead and reconnect. And that's a really useful tool, especially in situations where you're dealing with things like split tunnel and stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and wait for the agent to pop back up. As you see here, it actually was showing that this is unreachable. This was actually kind of interesting. We were doing some testing actually while I was presenting, and what we actually did was we induced higher latency. And the key thing for this is, you want to be able to see where the performance comes in at. If somebody is complaining that they're having a lot of drops in their Zoom meetings, for example, or they're having really, really slow load times and things like that, that's where that comes into play. And being able to get these metrics is so incredibly important, to help isolate, where the actual issue lies at. So what I'll do now is we will go ahead and actually, before I do that, I'm going to show, this is actually pretty cool here. So this is the historical data. So we've obviously been messing with this a little bit here. So you can actually go through the entire day and see, exactly where the problem lies. You can see what the running average is of the ping, for example. This is back to our VPN and the router. But what we can do here is we're going to isolate this particular situation. And you can see here from about 120 to about 140, we had huge latency spikes. So if somebody comes through the ticketing system and reports, I was having this issue around this time, what you can do is you can go through the historical data and see exactly what happened, where the problem lies. You can look at a couple different kind of tests as well. And speaking of tests, I'm actually going to show you can also restart the agent too, which is cool. So going back over to the test, and Greg talked about this earlier, is we can take a look at, say, my laptop with Google, and we'll take a look at our Gig E, and you can actually do a really quick side-by-side comparison. And where we've seen applications of this already with the work from home agent is if somebody is complaining that they're having issues reaching a certain web application, whether it's HTTP GET, which you can look at that up here, whatever have you, what you can do is take a really quick look and compare the two. And you can look at the day's average again to see where that's at. Also maybe take a look at specific timestamps of when they were complaining, and if anybody else in that region or in that area or whatever have you is having kind of the same problems. So and then let me get back over to here. So we'll do that and then do a refresh back into the dashboard here. And then Then you'd be able to see whenever the agent comes online, goes offline, etc. So now what we'll do is we'll open it up, I think, for some questions. I think we actually had a few questions that have come through. So let me pull this up here. Hang tight for 1 second. Got to pull up the Q&A tab. Okay, first question, is there a Mac or Mac and Linux agent? So right now, this agent is actually originally built on Linux. So you're actually able to deploy this directly into Linux operating system, no problem. And the Mac agent is currently in development right now. So we are looking to push that out during the third quarter. The next question is can you load your agent onto Android? Right now, no. That has been a request that we've had. We definitely see that there is a pretty big need for it. So that is something we are definitely looking at doing. I don't want to give a positive yes or no, but we definitely have seen in many spaces that has been a question. And another one is referencing the work from home agents. Is it a separate dashboard or not? So that's up to you. We've seen most of the applications where they're going to put them all on the same dashboard, put them in their own group, have their own tests and everything like that. We've also have seen in some cases very large deployments where they'll have 2 different teams managing it. So what they'll do is they'll end up breaking it up into 2 of their on-prem dashboards because they don't want to have support team cross functioning there. If you install the agent, then how is it identified on the dashboard? So what will pop up in the final installation version during the process is it'll actually pull attributes from the computer and pop that up into the dashboard, as well as a naming mechanism that you should be able to rename as well. Do you track 802.1x authentication latency for Wi-Fi clients, hardware agents fine, or as it is native Windows agent? We do have, and I'll actually bring it up here. So I'll select one of our Wi-Fi agents here. So we do actually have quite a bit on the wireless agents here. So you'll be able to get link quality, single strength, bit rate, things like that. You'll also be able to get connection association times. You can do something called periodic disconnect, reconnect, anywhere from once every 15 minutes to once every 6 hours, and a bunch of options in between. And it'll tell you the amount of time it'll actually do the full connection. So in this case, it was roughly 6.2, 6.3 seconds. But in this case, it actually fell off and it actually took over a minute to connect. And is it native or in the Windows agent? That is something we are looking to add this section as well to the Windows agent in a future release. Do you try DHCP latency? I think we pretty much covered that, so we're good there. What if you have a lot of agents? Will they sorry, it's going through here a little quickly here. What if you have a lot of agents? Will they be aggregated on the dashboard? So one of the things you can do, so we'll go back here. Manage agent groups. So you can make as many groups as you want. So you have your default group, which is as soon as an agent goes live, it'll inherit these attributes. If you add it to a second group, it'll inherit attributes also from the second group. If you remove it from the default group, it'll then lose any attributes in the default group that's not in the second group or the second group you add. So it allows you to make mass changes very quickly. And you can, put them based off a region or department or whatever have you. So that way you can kind of see what's where. How is it licensed? So the work from home agent is going to be licensed kind of the same model, just at a lower price point. We'll be getting that over to everybody here pretty soon, but just note that it's significantly less than the cost of a regular agent, and it does scale based off of how many you get. Is it possible to distribute the agent via Windows SCCM with the MSI installer? I'm not 110% sure. It's supposed to be able, since it's an MSI installer, you should be able to package it up, plug it in the secret key and roll it out to all your systems. It's really going to depend on how your system works with MSI installers, but the general feedback we've gotten has been that's how everybody has been doing this so far. When you said wait to have a ping fail to test fail in order to use that agent, it's unreachable. What if I don't have ping tests? So it depends on, I'll actually show you here. So I'll make a really quick target. So when you hit add target, we can name it, test 2, and then I'll just put in google.com. So the reason why I say ping, because it's by default the shortest. So it's timeout's 5 seconds. It runs every 5 seconds. DNS is a little bit slower. It's going to be 30 seconds and timeouts every 5, but you can change these. Same thing with HTTP gets, those are a minute, and traceroute is every 2 minutes. So there's a couple ways you can do it. If you're only running, DNS resolution or HTTP get, you can do those tests in shorter spans. If you'd like, you just have to set up that particular target. But yeah, once the agent's no longer responding to the request to run these tests, it'll then show that it's offline. Okay, are there any issues if the agent travels in and out of the office? Have not experienced that yet. We are looking at to see if there's a need to identify with a UID over a MAC address for wired versus wireless, because those generally do have a different MAC address. But I've run my laptop on, I don't know, about a dozen or so different networks, and I have multiple different networks in my environment. I should have an access point with one network, but that's beside the point. And it doesn't matter what network I'm on, it'll associate with that particular one. And I think there was one other question. Any best practices with the work from home transition as a general? Yeah, a lot of our customers have struggled in general, not just on the networking side, and trying to, fix these issues that have popped up. But really what it comes down to is figure out what you need and kind of make it simple. So, you might be monitoring a lot of different things internally. You can see we have a ton of things that we monitor. But for a work from home agent and monitoring the employees and their connectivity, make it simple. The VPN, web applications that they actually use, maybe throw a Google test out there, since that's one of the most reliable ones out there, things like that. And I believe that is all of them. Let me just double check. I think there was actually a few that I have missed here. Okay, just to clarify, yeah, the 802.1 timings will come soon with a future release, and SCCM with MSI installer, yes. And sorry guys and ladies here. So just double check. I want to make sure I don't miss any of the questions here, because they kind of all came through in a bunch.
Stephen, what I would add too is that if you do have additional questions, or you're viewing this on demand, or if you want to schedule a demo, you've probably figured that they're pretty easy to do. You can just email us at sales@netbeez.net. So Stephen, I don't know if you have any more questions.
Oh, yeah. I was looking because some got sent in the chat and all that stuff and directly to me. Okay, 2 more popped in. My apologies. Would it be a good idea to install this agent on a location on a computer instead of using a hardware fixed agent? The problem is that the agent, the work from home agents actually has some limitations. So you can only run so many tests. I think we're looking at about 20, I believe is where we're going to stop it at. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It's a very lightweight agent. If you start running 80 to 100 tests, if you're running on some laptops that are already resource constrained, that's going to add to the problem. The other side of that is the server load. You don't want to have to drastically increase the amount of resources. If you have 50 physical agents, that'll probably be, I don't know, probably about 4 processing cores and 16 gigs of RAM. I'm not 100% sure, but that's probably about right. If you add 1,500 remote agents with 100 tests, you're going to be looking at probably over 100 processing cores at that point. So we want to keep that down. So the hardware agents are going to be still necessary for the internal environment, because you're going to be monitoring a lot of different applications, not just a specific application that certain users use. And it's just gonna be better overall for the environment. And then the work from home should be, or the remote agent should be installed on laptops. Any time frame for the Android? Honestly, I don't have one. I would love to see it at ASAP. There definitely is a need for it. We want to finish developing the Mac one first. Do note you can actually run it on the Docker program on Mac right now if you like. We just don't like having to piggyback off of a program that we can't control the resource allocation on. But once we finish up that, we're going to set our sights to see logistically, if we can put one out on Chrome OS, and that is where we are heading for that. But yeah, okay, now that is all of them. So, but yeah, thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate it. If you want to email us at sales@netbeez.net, that will go to me and actually the whole team, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions, schedule a demo, things of that nature. And the we're going to be doing large scale trials of this for people to test here in the up and coming weeks. So definitely stay tuned for that.